If working harder really made you rich, then janitors and nurses would be millionaires by now. But they're not, and here's the reason why. I used to believe that outworking everyone was the only way up. Be the first one in, the last one out. Say yes to every new assignment. Volunteer for weekends, stretch projects, even cover for coworkers. I thought eventually someone would notice. Eventually it would pay off. But it didn't. 5 years in, I was exhausted and still struggling to keep up. And the people who made more than me, they didn't even seem that busy. That's when it started to bother me. Not just the hours, but the logic. How is it possible that I'm giving everything and still feel like I'm falling behind? Why does the person doing less, sometimes visibly less, walk away with more? I didn't know the answer yet, but I knew something was wrong. So I started looking, watching, asking different questions. And what I discovered over the next 2 years unraveled everything I thought I understood about money, effort, and success. The first pattern I noticed was this. Hard work is everywhere. Every factory, every hospital, every restaurant, every bank is full of people working hard, and most of them are broke or treading water. So clearly, hard work is not the differentiator. Now, before we go any further, yes, effort matters. But not all effort pays the same. And the people at the top? They're not just working hard, they're working differently in a way most people never get taught. That's what this video is about, not a motivational rant, not a quick hack. It's a breakdown of the invisible systems that make it possible to work less and earn more without being born rich, without being a genius, and without sacrificing your sanity. And if you stick around till the end, I'll show you how I use this exact approach to replace 80% of my active income without quitting my job and without taking a single financial risk. The first piece of that puzzle starts with the room you're in. What if the problem isn't your skills, but where you're selling them? For years, I thought I needed to improve my resume, add certifications, sharpen my communication, stay later, prove my value, and eventually someone would reward me. But I wasn't being underpaid because I lacked skills. I was underpaid because I was in the wrong market. Let me explain. A friend of mine inherited a piece of land from his parents, small, modest, nothing remarkable. He listed it on a local auction site in Oxfordshire, just outside of London. It sold. He made a 25% profit. 2 months later, the new owner listed that same land, same size, same spot. Nothing changed on a London-based site. And it sold again. This time for a 100% profit. Same product, different buyers. What changed? The room. That story stuck with me. Because when I looked at my own life, I realized I'd been doing the same thing, selling my skills in the wrong auction room. I was working in a corporate job where I hit the so-called maximum for my role. I asked for a raise. They said I was already at the cap for my title. So I switched industries. Same role. Same skill set, same years of experience, 30% more pay. I hadn't become more qualified. I had just entered a market that valued what I did more highly. And here's what I learned. The market decides your value, not your effort, not your loyalty, not even your experience. You can keep grinding in the wrong room for years, or you can walk through a different door and instantly 3 times your value. We're told to get better, to prove ourselves. But the truth is, sometimes the highest ROI move isn't self-improvement, it's market selection. So if you're watching this thinking, I know I should be earning more for what I do, don't assume it means you're lacking. It might just mean you're undervalued and underexposed. And when I figured that out, I stopped asking how to do more. I started asking, where does my time pay the most return? Like that piece of land, your work might be worth far more than you think, just not where you're currently selling it. What if 80% of your effort barely moves the needle? That's not an exaggeration. It's the Pareto principle, and it shows up in almost every area of life. 20% of your actions create 80% of your results. The rest? Noise. Motion that feels productive but leads nowhere. Once I understood this, I started seeing it everywhere. I looked at my own YouTube channel. 20% of my videos were driving almost all the growth. The rest? Just sitting there. I looked at how I dressed. Same thing, I wore 20% of my clothes 80% of the time. That one hurt a little. But the clearest example came from Steve Jobs. When he returned to Apple, the company was on the edge of collapse. Too many products, too many teams, too much complexity. So what did he do? He cut everything. He identified the handful of products that were actually profitable and scrapped the rest. The iPhone, the Mac, the iPad, that's it. For years, that's what the entire brand was built on. And it worked because he stopped feeding the noise and focused everything on the signal. Now here's where the tension comes in. Most of us are stuck in the 80% zone, constantly busy, constantly tired, constantly checking boxes, but not moving forward. And when you look at your day honestly, you'll probably see the same thing. Endless emails, meetings, tasks, administrator. But which of those actually move you closer to the life you want? Very few. So I made a rule for myself. Every morning, before anything else, I ask, what's the one task that, if completed, would produce the biggest outcome? And that's where I start. It's not about doing more, it's about knowing what matters and protecting your energy for those few things that pay 10 times the return. The University of Cambridge ran a study showing that people who focused on a smaller number of high-impact tasks not only earned more, but experienced lower levels of burnout and decision fatigue. The truth is, you're probably already doing enough. You're just not focusing where it counts. This is your permission to cut the noise, to stop obsessing over being busy, and to finally build something that pays you back. And if this is resonating with you so far, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps this message reach more people, and it tells me you're getting real value from this. We've all heard it. No one can outwork me. It's a badge of honor in hustle culture, one I wore for years. Late nights, early mornings, no vacations. I believed that the harder I worked, the closer I got to financial freedom. But I was measuring the wrong thing. Warren Buffett once said that if he makes just 2 good decisions a year, he's had a successful year. That broke my brain. How is it that someone who barely does anything in the traditional sense is one of the wealthiest people on earth? Because volume of activity is a beginner metric. Real results come from leverage, not labor. Let me explain. Every person has a cap on how many hours they can work. Even the most disciplined, caffeine-fueled high performers eventually hit a wall. But not all hours are equal. A school teacher and a SaaS founder can both put in 12-hour days. One earns $3,500 per month. The other? Maybe $350,000 a month. The difference isn't effort, it's leverage. The founder builds something once and it sells thousands of times. The teacher performs the same task daily. 1 hour equals 1 paycheck. Now, that's not to devalue teachers, but it highlights the core of this shift. What you do matters more than how hard you do it. There are 4 kinds of leverage. People, delegating tasks to others. Capital, investing money to work for you code. Creating something that runs without you content. Publishing once, reaching thousands over time. Most wealthy people use at least 1, often 2 or 3 at scale. And that's how they decouple time from income. If you're still grinding every day without any of these working in your favor, you're stuck in what Naval Ravikant calls the time trap. You only earn when you're active, and when you're not, the income stops. According to MIT's Sloan School, entrepreneurs who apply just one form of leverage, even part-time experience, up to 5 times income growth within 18 months compared to peers who rely solely on active effort. That's not theory, that's data. The shift here isn't quitting your job tomorrow or becoming some overnight CIO. It's asking, where can I build a system that works without me even just 1 hour a week? Because when you stop chasing motion and start designing momentum, everything changes. So what was the actual lazy trick that made me rich? It wasn't about being smarter. It wasn't about learning some secret investment strategy. It was about doing something once that kept working, even when I didn't. At the time, I was managing a full-time job, trying to freelance on the side and slowly burning out. One night, I made a decision that felt small, almost lazy. Instead of taking on another client, I recorded the thing I kept repeating to every one of them and put it behind a paywall. Same advice, same skill. But now, people could buy it while I slept. It wasn't perfect. It didn't take off immediately. but it created space. And in that space, I started building more assets like that. Things that didn't need me to show up in real time. Things that once built could scale without my direct involvement. That single shift from service to system changed everything. My income didn't just grow, my time did. And the best part, you don't need a fancy skill to do this. You don't need a course or a big audience. You just need to stop thinking in terms of labor and start thinking in terms of inputs that compound. Here's a simple way to start. Number 1, list everything you do more than twice a week. Emails, explaining things, repeating advice, daily tasks. Number 2, ask yourself, can I record, automate, or delegate this? If the answer is yes, start there. Number 3, build once. Improve later. Perfection is not the goal. Functionality is. The first version is supposed to be ugly. One of my friends is a personal trainer. Before the pandemic, she trained 50 clients one-on-one fully booked. After COVID, she started building an app. Same workouts, same nutrition guidance, just scalable. She made more in 3 months from the app than she did all year doing one-on-ones. It wasn't because she worked harder, it's because she stopped working harder and started building smarter. This is the lazy trick. Not laziness as in apathy, laziness as in strategic energy conservation. You build once, and let the thing you built work harder than you ever could. Most people spend their lives working inside the machine. But the wealthy, they design the machine and then step back. This shift took me the longest to understand. For years, I thought my job was to do the work, to be the most efficient, the most reliable, the most skilled operator. But at some point, no matter how good you are, you hit a ceiling. You run out of hours, out of energy, out of capacity. And the only way forward is to stop playing the role of the worker and become the architect. That means asking different questions. Not how can I do this faster, but should I even be the one doing this at all? In one of the scripts I read during that period, there was this quote, "The captain commands, but the rowers steer." If you're always rowing, you can't see the coastline. You don't know if you're headed in the right direction or just burning yourself out for nothing. And this is where most entrepreneurs, even successful ones, get stuck. They become the star player of their team, the best at sales, marketing, operations, all of it, but they never become the coach. They're running harder instead of designing better plays. And they lose to teams that aren't working harder, just working better. When I made that shift, everything changed. I started looking at what I was doing every week and asking, what could be delegated? What could be replaced by software? What could I remove entirely without any downside? And just like that, the clutter started disappearing. More importantly, my clarity came back. Because the truth is, if you're always rowing, you don't have time to notice when the boat is leaking. So here's the takeaway. If you want to stop trading your time for money, you need to stop thinking like labor and start thinking like leadership. You need to see your work, your skills, your knowledge as assets, things that can be packaged, systemized, and scaled. The wealthy don't brag about being busy. They brag about being unnecessary, and that's a goal worth working toward.